The chat was something I love from Rome Book Clubs, both 1 and 2. I'm gonna type hello, everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, by the way.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Oh my God, happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, I see. Kate put up a heart. I'm going to do that too. Here's my Valentine's Day emoji right there, which ties into one of our themes, which is that Rome Portal can now search for emojis. Woohoo!
Hey, can I just show y'all something? It does not snow in Arkansas. It does not snow in Arkansas. Look at the snow.
Tracy is showing us some weather. Yeah.
Can you see the snow? You can't see the snow.
What?
It does not snow in Arkansas. And I can't see the grass anymore.
Unusual.
Watch this. Watch this. I got to show you. And then I'll hang up and listen. Watch. Look at that!
Wow.
A blizzard in Arkansas.
I'll hang up and
At least the end of times.
Hi, Antoinette. I'm seeing your message in the text window. Happy Heart Day, Antoinette Ladaris. Woohoo! Oh my goodness! Samantha endured negative 40 degrees Celsius. Yikes! Where do you live, Samantha? Where is this happening?
I live in southern Alberta, which is just above Montana. So the worst is we're farmers and we had to haul grain all week. So all of you who are getting pasta around the world who maybe came from my farm, my husband was up at 5 o'clock in the morning at -40 loading trucks. So you can all have food year round.
That is intense. Well, thank you, Samantha, to you and your husband for enduring this for the sake of our pasta. Woohoo!
Well, we don't actually grow the pasta. We just provide the flour that goes around the world. And there's different kinds of wheats depending on what you use it for. Some are for baking. And then like pasta is a different kind of wheat. We grow both kinds. So I'm getting a bunch of things in the chat here. We should just have a whole separate chat on farm questions.
Hey, okay, let's get into it. So welcome everyone, and great to see you all here again. Welcome to Bo and Matt, and to everyone else, and exciting to see what's happening this week. Another great week of experimentation, some amazing amount of energy in both the grass as well as like the Zoom breakout rooms from last week, and a special treat for you today with Dharam Kapila here to talk to us about Rome Portal. Dharam, are you around? Can you give everyone a wave if you can?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Hey Dharam, hey. So before we get to Dharam, I'll just quickly check with Matt and Bo and see how they've been going and what's the go with them. So let's start with perhaps Bo. How's it going with you guys, and what's the status? How's it been? Or where are you at?
It's been a crazy 2 weeks, and yeah, I mean, it's just, I was listening to some podcast, and they were talking about how, like, it takes an incredible amount of force to, like, it's like airplanes, right? Like these planes, like you look at like the SR-71, it's like once it gets up to like 80,000, 90,000 feet, it doesn't take as much energy to sort of keep going. And it's sort of like, but to get up to that point takes an incredible amount of energy. And that's what I feel like these last 2 weeks have been. It's like getting up to altitude. But now that we're at altitude, it's like, oh, this is seamless. This is effortless. This is easy almost, or simple. And just watching everyone write in Rome. I mean, I know Dharam's going to touch upon it, but it's just the amount of blocks that Coil Group and Somke's group are creating in the first 2 weeks is about to exceed how many Rome Book Club 2 had for the entire 6.5 weeks. So it's just something to think about. And, I was also, just one last thing. It's like, I was watching a video about Obsidian, right? And this guy was like, this is why you should choose Obsidian over Rome. And he wasn't wrong in a couple of things, right? He was right. There was some things that Obsidian is doing right, but he was missing out on this community. And he's missing out on the blocks. And, you know, a tool can easily, like a hammer can easily just, you know, hold the door open, or a hammer can build a house. And, you know, it's easy to judge a tool that's holding the door open by saying, oh, well, I'd rather have a doorstop, you know. But if you pick up that tool and you have some nails lined up, you can actually build a home for yourself and others. And yeah, I'm excited to see what week 3 looks like. And I'm excited to get this computer back up and running. And I'm excited to hear from Coil's group. I want to know what's going on in RBC3, Matt Brockwell. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're pushing the frontiers.
Thank you. Bo, you know, I'm going to hit some of the same notes as you, honestly, because Bo and I both saw Dharam do this demo, and we're just like so amazed and grateful and excited that so many people are writing, because again, that's the heart of the project. And just seeing people who are willing to take risks and share personal stories and put those stories into our shared graphs, I feel like that's the fuel that is keeping all of us going. And it's so exciting and such a privilege to be reading the things that people are sharing and writing and thinking about. Another theme that I want to amplify, Bo talked about activation energy, like the plane taking off. My feeling is it's kind of like we're riding a wave, and that wave is happening. It's just, to me, it's very exciting. I hear it, or I feel it on 3 levels. One is the technological level, where the ground is changing around us, and we're seeing new things happen week to week. I mean, this new stuff that Dharam is going to show us is a great example of that. It's like there's new avenues of the adjacent possible that are opening up for us during the book club itself. I find that thrilling. And the other piece that I just want to shout out is we've got a handful of members. I'm thinking of Mike Kramer and Maggie Delano. Maggie, are you there? Am I pronouncing your last name right? Maggie D? Maggie might not be on the call. Maggie, Mike, and
Delano,
Andre.
sorry.
Oh, yeah, one more time? Delano, thank you. So Maggie Delano and Mike Kramer and Andre, is Andre here? We're seeing some members who are taking things further than ever before, and we're seeing the seeds that were planted in Rome Book Club 1 and Rome Book Club 2 get to fruition, in that I'm seeing people sort of pushing the envelope in terms of what we can do on multiplayer. That is tremendously exciting to me. The other thing that I think feels really gratifying to me is that we're creating something where it feels like anyone can dip their toes in the pool. And there may be people who have a lot of experience in Rome. There may be people who are doing these kinds of groundbreaking experiments. But I feel like we're really doing it in a way that lets anybody jump in and kind of see and start to figure out, hey, there's more exciting stuff that we can all do together if we riff off each other's ideas, if we take little pieces here and there from what other people are doing. That's it to me. So that's my wrap up.
Yeah. I feel
Thanks,
like
Matt.
that's certainly the case in terms of how the 2 groups have got a distinctive character. Bo's certainly like a great first impression to Rome.
I think we'll get like 50% off.
Big fundamentals of how to use Rome, as well as Sonka's ideas and the idea of Zettelkasten more generally. Bo, I noticed that you've got to the kind of the distinctive characteristics of fleeting notes at the moment, which is really cool. And then onwards from here, I assume, too, with literature notes, and then on to kind of your home ground with the Zettel states as well. So that's really cool. And then Matt's is really, progression too of the earlier stuff, as well as like really the frontier of what can be done, both in terms of ideas about how to read a book differently, with Zettel questions, etc., that you've been exploring, and beyond that, just the general state of advanced use cases in Rome as well, which has really been nice. So yeah, it's a really good contrast between the two, and it's good to see how they've both been progressing. So congrats to you all. Really nice to see on my behalf in terms of the energy too. And probably now's a good time to actually show you both, or collectively, what's been going on and using the tool from Dharam. So a bit of an introduction to Dharam. Dharam came in. One of the big problems we had with multiplayer and the first book club was that we had so many people writing into the graph and it was completely unclear what was in the graph. When you've got your own Roam account, you've kind of got a sense of what's in there, right? You've put everything in there. So if there's a particular theme that comes up, you kind of know it's already there. You go to search for it. But when you've got multiple people writing in the graph, it's really hard to know what's in it. So it was kind of a mystery. And then Durham came in Roam Book Club 2 and described the Roam portal. And it was just pretty shocking in terms of what it allowed us to see in terms of the activity in the graph. And perhaps rather than kind of talk through it, I might just hand over to him and say, Durham, do you mind showing us a little bit of Roam portal and what it can do in RBC3 graph, please? Are you there, Durham?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, welcome.
Hi.
Good to see you again. Let's start with which Bo or Matt, which one do you want to go first on? Just a quick overview.
So I have sort of both the graphs open on my desktop. I could just go over each of them one by one.
Yeah, and then once you jump into our graph, we can go a little bit more in depth.
Exactly. Each of the two of us are going to get a slightly different tour from Durham in a few minutes later on when we split into our groups. So this is kind of our teaser. We're going to show show you guys some of the things that you can do. Yeah.
And make sure you're sitting down, by the way. Make sure you're sitting down. I'm just going to say that now.
I want to see the globe view. Durham, can we see the globe view? Because this just inspires me. It's just so exciting.
Yeah, let me do that.
Yeah.
All right. So Roam Portal basically is a Chrome extension that allows you to it gives you more search functionality in Roam, and it also adds a lot of different kinds of visualizations for your data. So I'm gonna give a brief demo, and then as Matt mentioned, afterwards I can go into more depth and maybe also take in some questions in the two individual sessions. So I have both the graphs open here. Let me open Roam Portal. The way to open it is just once you have the extension installed. If you just click over here, it opens, and if you click again, it'll hide back again. So once I have Roam Portal open, I have some different search parameters that I can take in. So a simple one would be just to search for something. So if I type the word notes, it's gonna search for all the blocks which contain this word notes. And I can see that a total of 1,690 results. That's the number of blocks which contain the word notes. And they're all here sorted by date. So for example, this recent one was just added a minute ago. This one 2 minutes ago, this one 3 minutes ago. So we can see that there's just for this one word, there's activity happening almost every minute. Now, I can remove notes and I can just say, give me everything from the last 7 days. And because I don't have any search term here, it's just going to return every single block that was changed, or that was modified or edited over the last 7 days. So that's 20,000 blocks which were modified just over the last 7 days, which is
wow.
Which is a pretty high number. I can open the same thing also in the other graph as well, and do the same thing. Give me the activity over the last 7 days. And again, this one also has 7,781 results as well. So because this one has less members, but again, we can see a lot of activity going on in both the graphs.
No, Andy, you haven't been slacking in Coil Group. So Matt purposely put a limit on the amount of people in his graph. So relative to the size of Bo's, it's been a phenomenal as well. So take it as a compliment rather than although I'm sure Matt would love you to write more as well.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll set both the graphs to 1 month ago. So that means that's just going to give me the entire graph, right? So it'll be the whole data. So this shows that in total, this graph has about 15,357 blocks, 357, and this graph has 33,528 blocks. This is the how to take smart notes. And now that we have, I have all the blocks shown in Roam Portal, I can go through different visualizations of my results. So I could see, for example, the time activity, and this shows on a week by week basis the growing activity in this graph. So we can see week 4 it was just 1,844 blocks, and then week 5 it was 11,000, and this week we have had 19,000 blocks. So it shows a trend, a growing trend here. And what I want to show now before I finish this demo here is the globe view. And because we have all put in our locations in the graph, it's picking up all the city names of the people, and it's showing them here. So if I click on a name, it shows me the people who are in Paris, for example, right? Because they added Paris to their location. So it's very cool to see the activity happening, and just how diverse the book club is. It's basically, we have people from every continent here.
And those bars reflect the number of people, right? That's a graph view with a scale on it. Is that right?
There is a scale metric to it as well. And also there's a list of countries that have been added to this graph as well. So these are the names of countries which have been added. And again, you can see that there's actually a difference in the green color, which is because, for example, USA has a lot of mentions. So it's like darker green in color, whereas Canada is less green because it has less number of mentions compared to the States.
Color coded.
It's color coded as well.
Can you, Dharam, show us the word, the thing that shows the word maximum or highest word frequency, that kind of word map that you showed us the other day?
Completely. So if I go to words, once again, I have 1 month ago, right? So that means the visualizations are based on these 33,000 results, which means these visualizations are based on the entire graph.
And this happens to be Bo's graph, right? The Zonky Aron's book. Is that right?
Exactly. This is how to take smart notes. So on this graph, I can see that the most popular, the words that I use most frequently is want, like, time, writing.
Can I just say something? Like, that to me is awesome. Like, the most used word out of 33,000 blocks is want. What do you want? Want a Zettelkasten. You want to be able to archive your thoughts and your, that is it right there. That's like, proof is in the pudding, Like, I want time writing notes to make ideas to think in a Zettelkasten. If you just
look at that. Did you see that Bo was reading that across from left to right?
I want time to write notes to make ideas to think in a Zettelkasten. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Oh my
that's
God.
Literally.
Really? People need thoughts, learning, thinking, much better life. I'm just reading those across. It's refrigerator poetry.
I have the same words, and want is number 1 for me, and time is number 2, and notes is number 4. It's wild. It's the same ones.
Yeah. And this is on the culture code, and on this graph, group is actually the number 1 word.
Of course it is.
And then there's also like a high number of mention of the word please. So
that's fun. Yeah, we've been putting lots of asks.
Very polite.
That's right. I love it. Feel personal. Yeah. That's fun.
That is so good. Group writing, like, would you give me the page, please?
Yeah, I can actually, if I click on the word please, it adds it to my search term. So when you use the word please, it goes along with writing, daily, choose, personal. I can also see the results, and this is the list of all the instances where the word please has been used.
Oh, it's in a template somewhere. That's part of the reason why it's showing up so much.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But everyone's using it. Yeah. So.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to spoil too much of the fun because, Dharam, you're going to go in to have a bit of a detailed view of each graph with the individual group. With that, Matt and Bo can talk you through and ask you a few questions to get to some of the greater detail, right?
And on that note, maybe it's a good time for me to mention, in case people didn't read the little announcement, today we're trying something a little different, and the entire Hoyle group, that is all of the group who are reading Culture Code, are going to be invited to hop from here to a separate Zoom call, because it's going to facilitate things a little from this point in the meeting for us to divide. And the way this is going to work, I'm going to start by posting that link in our chat. So what I'd like to ask you to do is just hold on a second on making comments, because I'd like for the link to stay there until people are able to cross over. So I'm about to do a copy paste of that link, and that is where we are going to go in just a moment. Let me just grab
And so,
it.
Sonke's group, we're gonna go into the breakout room. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom call, you'll have that little the 4 squares. If you click on that, you'll see the breakout room for oh, I think I need to do it again.
Okay, I'll do it, bro.
I'll do it right now. Just look for Sonke's auditorium, and boom. Look for the open all rooms. Yeah, so just make sure you click on the 4 squares, and then you go down to the very bottom. You'll see Sonke's auditorium. Hover over that number 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, and then you can just join. And I'll see everyone in Sonke's group in that breakout room.
All right, guys, I just put our link in the chat, and it's probably going to take a minute for everyone to get over there. I'm going to hop onto that link myself so that the meeting will be immediately populated by me, plus who is brave enough to click on that link. What's that, Nico?
People are arriving already, so it's working.
All right, I'm going. Thank you.
Okay, Sonke's group, I'll see you all in the breakout room. Again, the 4 little squares. Click on that. Scroll down near the bottom, or where it says Sonke's auditorium in caps, and then hover over the number in blue, and then you can join.
Oh, sorry, I'm battling to see anything inside that breakout rooms. There's nothing there. List of.
Do you see a list of names?
I can't see it either.
Nothing.
No, I can't see it either.
Hmm.
The only thing I can see is just the word join for Logitech Smart Notes.
Oh, go to the right of it where it says the number, click on that, and it'll say, something will pop up, join Sonke's auditorium.
Yeah. Do you see
Don't
that?
scroll down, go to the right of it.
Yeah, I'll
okay.
See?
So it's just Sonke's auditorium.
Yep, and then hit yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And there you go. Boom. I will see you all there.
Hey,
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. You are now in a breakout room.
Hello.
Am
I there?
Breakout. Oh, breakout.
Okay. So, was everyone ever able to open up the daily template for today? I felt like it was lagging a little bit. Double semicolon day 15. You should have 5 different things there.
Oh, let me check that.
Mm-hmm. I am recording, by the way, so this video will be up and ready to go. I love that the most used word is want. Like, that's juicy to me. You know, it's so juicy. You know, I had a bunch of notes, but I was like, forget about it. We'll touch upon it. Well, you know what I mean? It's like, I like, you know, I've prepared, but you know, it's like, I want to enjoy this moment. You know, it was interesting. I was on the way to the office today, and just as people file in, again, Dharm's going to go to Coil's group first, and then he's going to come into this group. I was just thinking about it, and I don't want to be morbid, but I do want to tell this story. I was on the way to the office, and there was one of those police what do you call it, motorcades, right, where these motorcycles came up and they stopped at the light, and then you saw the hearse with a line of cars behind them, you know, and it was a funeral, you know, it was a funeral procession, and you know, I was about to get upset because I was like, I'm gonna be late to set up and get ready, and then I just sort of like took a breath and I go, let's watch. And I was watching, and as the hearse sort of drove by and up the hill, and with these line of cars behind them, the thought that came to my mind was so interesting. It was like, that's what we're doing right now. We're leaving behind these little blocks of cars behind us with this Zettelkasten. If the goal, if what we want is a Zettelkasten, what is a Zettelkasten? It's a intellectual autobiography. And I have to say this, where over time, if you choose to spend the time to build this out in this incredibly simple, I mean, if you haven't noticed already, like, this is incredibly simple and lightweight. I mean, it's complex, but it's simple and lightweight. And even now, with the amount of permanent notes that I have, it's like, this is an adventure into my mind over time. And if you choose to go down this path of spending the time every day to spend 15 to 45 minutes building out this critical mass of permanent notes, like, when that time comes, I don't want to be morbid, but I just had to say it. It's like, when that time comes, when we're dead and gone, which, by the way, we're all going to be dead and gone, it's only a matter of time. But when that time happens, it's like, what can we leave behind? And it's like, I would love just, my loved ones to be able to jump from one thought to the next thought, to the next thought, to the next thought, and then to see how I came up with this idea, and to see when that happened. And, it's a very interesting thing. And I have to say that it works. And I feel like, everyone is on that path now. And, also, I want to say, before we jump into sort of what is a literature note, going over that overview, you're not in a rush. These videos aren't going to go anywhere. It is a daily thing. And it's like, I know there's some people that are sort of catching up, but I don't want you to feel pressure that you have to have it done by this time. Like, there's recordings on video. There's recordings of the guided writing exercise. The shared graph isn't going to go anywhere. So take your time to really wrestle with this and grasp what these concepts are. And there is no rush. You're doing great. Yeah. So good seeing everyone. Let's jump into literature note. I was thinking about what's the best way to explain this. What is a literature note? And the idea that came to my mind was, what a beautiful thing a literature note means. Because the fleeting note, what are you asking? Where do I drop my notes in the shared graph during the live session? If you just go to your page and you create the double semicolon template, you can go ahead and write your notes in there.
Okay, so I write it under the day 15 line.
Just in your page, in your Yina page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then do double semicolon, and you press day 15, and you have a little template that ought to pop up. I was thinking about what's the best way to explain fleeting notes, and it's like, or literature notes. And I love what a literature note stands for. What I mean by that, in the fleeting note phase, it was all about what's resonating with me. All the things that are sort of like, it's all about me, right? And the fleeting note is sort of like one leg, right? And the second leg is sort of a reference note, right? That's like the source or the bibliography. That's where that was like the sort of first pop that sent us down this rabbit hole of ideas, right? So you have these two legs, but it's just like anything. Like, two legs is hard to balance on. It doesn't stand up. You have to lean it up against the wall. It's not very stable. It's not a very stable base. And then I was thinking, it's like, well, what is the third leg? The third leg of this tripod in which we're going to place our permanent note is the literature note. But I just love that what a literature note is we're writing what the author is saying in our own words, right? But what it also does is it makes us go, it's not just about me. I also need information from others, So it creates this instantaneous, it creates an automatic necessity to have other people, right? And on a deep sort of metaphysical level, I just love that. I love that it's not about building an archive of just my ideas, but that I'm actually taking, like, if you think, if anyone's ever written a book, like, how long does it take to write a book? I mean, literally, there's some authors, they spend decades on a book. And so literally, you're like, a paragraph in someone's book is literally taking its distillation of someone's 10 years of their life. And what we're doing is we're going, okay, the fleeting note is all the things that I've abstracted out of my thoughts and my experiences. Now I'm looking at this third leg of the tripod and I'm going, what the author is saying is this in my own words. Again, this whole week we're gonna sort of walk through what that process looks like, but I just want to lay that foundation down that this is the point where a Zettelkasten is different than any other note-taking system, because what we're doing is we're going, yeah, I'm smart, but I still need to have information and people that I am looking for these ideas from. And it's such an interesting way of note-taking. It's an interesting way of structuring your notes, because now it's not an individual, it's others as well. And so that's the sort of baseline understanding. It's a tripod. It's 3 legs that's gonna be a stable platform in which we place our declarative statement or our permanent note. And as we go through that this week, just understand that everything is going to start clicking into place now, you know? And as it does, just remember what it took to get to this point. Like, really, because it took a lot of writing, like 35,000 blocks. You know, last night we checked. So 24 hours ago, we had 28,000 blocks. Now we're at 36,000 blocks that everyone that's on this call and people that are going to watch the video later have made. And it's just that to me, I'm in a state of awe, but at the same time, it's like, we need to remember that that's what we've been doing, and that, like, to not forget how much work that we've put into this. And so, so yeah, you know what I want to do is, I want to just spend some time writing, and just sort of Rome Book Club 3, your impressions of Rome Portal, this little brief overview of what a literature note is, and also maybe even the story about, the motorcade, and having this intellectual autobiography. I just want to spend the next sort of 10 minutes just writing about what this all means, maybe even writing about what these last 2 weeks have been like for you. But I want to make some more blocks in this shared graph. And so I'm just going to set a timer for 10 minutes. I'll put a little Pomodoro going on the daily notes page. And let's just mute everybody, and let's just write together. Okay. Feels like it really just puts everyone like on the same wavelength as you're finishing up writing. So you notice on the bottom of your Zoom, you have a little reaction button. And if you click on that, you can raise your hand, right? But don't raise your hand yet. But this is what I'd like to do. I feel like there's a lot of information to take in, especially with fleeting notes. And I feel like the best way to sort of understand how to do it is to watch someone walk through it. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to just open up the floor to someone that's, you know, feels like they've been thorough with their work. They feel like, you know, they have a grasp on what fleeting notes are, but it just hasn't clicked yet. And just what I'd like for you to do is, if you feel like you're that person and you're willing to sort of, you know, I really hope that I've fostered enough of this community or this sense of community that, you know, you're willing to sort of, you know, if you're willing to sort of be the one that we all sort of walk through this with together. So again, if you look on the reactions, if you want to raise your hand, and I'm just going to take a look and I'll just pick someone. If you'd like to really, if you feel like you've been doing the work, but you still haven't really understood what this fleeting note idea is, and if you're willing to sort of walk through it with me, sort of a pseudo one-on-one coaching session with 78 other people watching you and watching you think out loud. And if you're willing to do that, you know, just take a look at the reaction button at the bottom and just raise your hand. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to just do an intervention, you know, and allow for people to see what this is all about. And I know we're going to be waiting for Dharam, and he might have to wait till the end because this is more important. Augie, hi. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yes, here I am.
Yes,
hi.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. A little bit surprised at myself for having raised my hand.
Can we just all give her a round of applause, by the way? Can we all, like, seriously, like, that's courage. You see that? Do you see that, Augie? Like, we got your back. We're here for you.
Oh, bravo.
So what I'd like to do is I'm gonna go ahead and mute everybody. Hopefully, Augie, you.
I'm unmuted again. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Perfect. And I'm just taking a look at your notes here. I'm prying into your mind a little bit. I'm just. Yeah. Well, okay. This is what I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to create. Go into your fleeting notes page.
Okay.
And can you share your screen with us? Can you share your screen with us?
Yes.
At the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can have share screen. You can share a window, or you can share your whole desktop. It's probably gonna be better just sharing your window so we can pay attention. And by the way, for everyone that's listening along, this is basically what I would do on the one-on-one coaching sessions. And I think I saw Heather, and I think I saw Beverly as well, Ayomide as well. You know, they're going to be familiar with this.
Oh, okay. This might not actually work. My computers told me to do the security and privacy settings so that Zoom could share my screen, but then it tells me that it needs to quit and reopen Zoom. So you might have to choose someone else, because I think quitting and reopening Zoom might take a while.
Well, let's do this then. Let's do this. We're just going to do it verbally for now.
Okay.
Okay. This is what I'd like for you to do.
Okay.
Hi. Hi.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
Yeah, you should be. You're gonna be like explaining the world, like explain to this group of strangers of 80 people that your thoughts. And I think it takes a lot of courage. So where are you from?
I'm from Hungary.
Hungary. Nice. And
Hey.
how did you stumble upon Rome?
Well, basically, a few years ago, I'd been looking for something like Rome, and I couldn't find it. I kept like trying all these note-taking apps, and it was this huge project of mine to finally find something that could help me make sense of my brain and just have some kind of an outlet for very divergent interests that I could like recapture and create something with. And it took longer than it should have for me to just accept that it didn't exist yet. But thankfully, at least I got into the realm enough to be able to notice when Rome actually finally started happening. But some of the experiences from before made me very wary of whether it actually is what I was hoping that it was. So I'm only now daring to ease into it.
And then what do you want in a Zettelkasten?
I want to be able to change. I should just bring up my answer to that. It might have been a lot more articulate, but basically I want to be able to live life more joyfully and to be able to have my intuition be my guide for what I'm choosing to do, kind of like the Luhmann quotes about how he only did things at the time that he wanted to do them, because there are a lot of things that I'm excited about, but not all the time. And sometimes I'm just stuck in, okay, I'm supposed to be enjoying this because most of the time I am, but I need to notice when I'm too tired to do something and then choose something else that fits my mood or my current context much better. But I'm not able to just pull that up from my brain because it goes many places at once. So then something external to help me with that would be really useful.
Why is that important to you?
Because I want to create things. I want to make music. I want to maybe write books later, fiction mostly.
And why do you want to create music, and why do you want to write?
To be able to, I don't know, give something back to the world, to be able to show, to expose more of myself to myself and to others, to be able to connect to people better than I currently am able to do that.
Why is that important?
I feel like I'm more closed off than most people, and I've only recently started experiencing joy from connecting to others, and I feel like there's this momentum that has only recently started to build, and I want to not hold on to that necessarily, but build on it, I guess.
And why is that important? Why do you want to build upon it? Why do you want to build upon that momentum?
I think because I'm thinking that it's going to bring me closer to the person who I want to be.
And why is that important to you?
I guess because we only have one life in which to live out many potential life paths, but you can only actually do one at a time at least. But over time, you might get to do multiple pathways. Probably thread issue.
I love doing this, by the way. I do. I love listening. I love hearing that. By the way, Doc, Beverly, you already know what I'm doing here, but we're gonna have a little fun. I'm gonna copy this block reference, and I'm going to go to Agi's page. Let's go to her fleeting notes page, and this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and do command. Uh-oh, it's saying that I can't edit the block. Oh yeah.
Oh,
So this is. Don't worry, I can figure it out. Can everyone see what I'm doing here? Uh-oh. Let me turn on Keyboard Maestro real quick. Hold on. Keyboard Maestro is on. Okay, there's reference notes. And we're gonna do Command K. Command K is gonna bring this up. We're just gonna call this chapter 8 for now. And then I'm gonna paste the block reference there. I'm gonna hit enter and let's do hashtag fleeting notes. Okay, and now this is what I'd like to do. I'm gonna close this off for now. So we're just gonna act like you're doing it, right? I'm gonna zoom in a little bit just so everyone can see. I'm gonna open this in the sidebar. This is gonna be a little paragraph, right? And I'm gonna open this just a little bit more so everyone can see. And let's close this out. And can you read this paragraph? Can you see it okay?
Yeah.
Can you read that aloud for me?
Yes. You may remember from school the difference between an exergonic. Okay. I haven't ever pronounced that word. I have an instinct about what it might mean, but yeah, it's a little bit different in Hungarian. Anyway, exergonic and endergonic. I've only heard of exothermic and endothermic. Never mind. So there is a difference between these two types of reactions. And in the first case, you constantly need to add energy to keep the process going. In the second case, the reaction, once triggered, continues by itself and even releases energy. And that was the endothermic one, and endergonic one. The dynamics of work are not so different. Sometimes we'll feel like our work is draining our energy and we can only move forward if we put more and more energy into it. But sometimes it is the opposite. Once we get into the workflow, it is as if the work itself gains momentum, pulling us along and sometimes even energizing us. This is the kind of dynamic we are looking for.
Okay. So do you feel like you got a grasp of what the author was saying, or was it a lot of nerves just like reading it aloud into a public space?
No, I think I have like an inkling of.
I'll let you read through it again. But the question that I want to ask you is, what resonates with you when you read this? What are sort of like, what I mean by that is this. It's almost like, the best way that I know how to say it is like, when you're having a conversation with somebody that knows you very well, you can sort of go from this idea from carrot, rabbit, cereal, mountain, like carrot, rabbit, garden, cereal, you know, like you can jump from all these different areas. And that wasn't probably the best example. I've had better examples, but I think you get the idea. The idea is, what are the thoughts, these fast moving thoughts? What are these ideas that are coming through your mind? So exergonic, endergonic, that you said that reminded you of something. What was that again? What did those words remind you of?
Exothermic and endothermic reactions. Maybe that's not an actual word in English, and only there's a similar word in Hungarian. I'm not sure. Okay.
There's no rules. As long as it makes sense to you. Exothermic and you said what else?
Endothermic.
Okay. What else sort of resonated with you? What are some of the different ideas? You can read through it again. Why don't you just read through it to yourself and then see what else sort of.
Okay, I think it's disappeared, at least from my screen. But I remember that one of the main things that resonated was the energy bits, how one of them is something that's kind of draining energy or needing more and more energy from you, whereas the other one is something that gives you more energy. It's
Mm-hmm.
releasing energy as it's going. That was really, really useful to me.
What does
as
that
a
remind you of?
methodology. Relationships, certain relationships at least, or conversations, or even certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the type of environment that you're in, sometimes it could be nourishing, and at other times it's just draining, like when you are like so out of sync and everything is just friction and not able to click.
Mm-hmm. What else?
And then what else? Well, the main metaphor in there was with some kind of chemical reaction, and that also like draws up certain very vague memories from high school about the chemistry of it, how something just generates the energy and some of it needs input from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
That actually also brings up catalysts in my mind, and whether that's like I would, if I had the paragraph in front of me, I'd just relate it with an eye to that, and whether it's a concept that's missing from the paragraph and I'd have to like insert it in my own thought, whether in one of these cases there's a catalyst that needs to happen, or whether it's just something that relates to the second, the endogenic or endothermic, I'll just call it endothermic for now.
What else?
I actually just thought of what these actual words might mean in, like, I think they are the inverse of the endothermic and exothermic ones.
What does that remind you of?
Never mind.
What does that remind you of though? When
The
things are
inverse
sort of
or
like
the-
lost in translation, maybe?
Well, a little bit, yes, because right now I'm only guessing at the meaning of these terms, interpolating from the meaning of other terms, which might or might not be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else that this reminds you of? Something like, where it's like, how can you talk about like Robert Frost to David Foster Wallace to Frosted Flakes? Like, how do you see any other sort of like, oh, this reminds me of this.
Okay, then a few other ones are, climbing up a hill versus going down. And then all that brings up in my mind a kind of image of this potential energy stuff, like how if there's a bowl sitting on the top of a mountain or like a curve, then it might go either direction, and it takes very, very tiny energy or outside influence for it to do a whole cascade in a certain direction, and then it's like a whole path it can go down. Versus if it's sitting down at the bottom of a valley, then it takes energy to move upwards, and a very specialized kind of always putting it in energy. That again brings into my mind the kind of neural patterns that we all have, like I always think of them as these kinds of grooves that get deeper and deeper in our minds as we repeat behaviors and habits, and how the pathways that we're building in our brain are through our experiences and what we repeat. Those are also kinds of these starting points for the bowl sitting at the top of the hill, and then you just think of whether you want to go down that same path that you always keep going down, or you want to, like, at the very top, you might have a certain tiny advantage of making it go into a slightly newer or different direction if you want to like change a habit or something.
How does that feel?
It feels really nice to like, be able to connect all these areas.
I'm going to share the screen one more time.
Mm-hmm.
So all I was doing was basically I was just capturing your fleeting note for you, right? And so basically what I was doing, I was just capturing all these ideas, right? And I feel like this is enough. Like if you were gonna capture this is enough context. If you came back to it, you would understand why you wrote this down, why this piqued your interest, why you highlighted this, why you spent that 2 minutes to write this out, right? And so that's the first part of a fleeting node. It's just that. It's just getting these first level ideas: exothermic, endothermics, draining energy, chemical reaction, chemistry generates energy, catalysts. I missed a little bit of the middle part because I was reloading the computer, but interpolating from known terms, climbing up the hill versus down the hill. It doesn't say anything about that in the literature. This isn't a book report. We're not summarizing yet. That's the literature note aspect of it. You said cascade, pathways in the brain. This is enough. This is enough to sort of, you can take this, put it off to the side when you're ready to start processing. Are you following me so far? And so, Agi, this is what I'd like for you to do now. Okay? I'm going to stop sharing because I want to be able to see your face. I want to see the reactions on your face, because then I'll know if it's really sort of making, like, if it's really resonating with you or not, right? And this is what I love to do. I love just sort of listening and taking this in, right? And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to just ask more questions, right? And we can just imagine that now what we're going to do is we're going to start processing these fleeting notes, okay? And so without typing anything, what does exothermic mean to you?
It means, well, okay, very vague chemistry memories. I think exothermic was the one that, like the explosions, I think the one that gives off energy and doesn't need to take in new energy, like once it starts. So like it's the release of energy.
And then what is endothermic?
It was a process that needs outside energy. Please, if anyone actually knows the meaning of these terms, feel free to jump in and
these are your
the
notes.
direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these are. It doesn't even matter. It's like these are fleeting. You know what I mean? And guess what? You get to look back at this when you do have more certainty on what it means, and you go, oh, I remember February 14th. I wasn't as sure. And then you look back March 14th, and you go, wow, look how much I've grown. What does draining energy mean to you? What does that remind you of?
Draining it.
What imagery do you have when someone goes, that's draining energy? What does that mean to you?
Well, the batteries and how it could, the level goes down and then there's nothing to take unless you have a way of recharging.
And then what are ways of recharging?
Well, in terms of activities, it could be something nourishing and different enough to, I guess because in people, it could be like a process where your energy naturally gets recharged when you can rest or rest that part of your mind. But in some, I think that leads me to the greatest aspect of it, which is just that it doesn't need energy input to happen. It just happens naturally if you let it, by not doing.
Can you give me an example in your life?
Drains it. I guess reading most of the time. Reading would do that. Yeah.
Like what kind of book when you're reading? Which book does that remind you of? Where it doesn't need energy input, it just happens naturally.
Oh, when I'm reading fiction, that's one of the recharging ones for me. I guess also these past few days, writing exercises have been that for me as well, because it's just so freeing to be able to just freely process whatever comes to my mind and then just write it out. It has this sort of calming effect on my mind that I really like. Meditation, going for a walk is definitely one of them, just being in nature.
And then what does chemical reaction mean to you?
Chemical reaction.
What's a chemical reaction?
It's components coming together and having some kind of probably unexpected results. Chemistry, like something that has probabilities and of working out a certain way.
And then what does probability
Yeah.
mean to you? What do you mean probability? What does probabilities working out in a certain way mean to you?
It means that most rules don't have to be treated as in a completionist way, or like 100% or 0%. There are
You said most truths? Truths?
most truths and most rules as well, I think.
Can you give me an example?
Wow, the first thing that came to mind is just like how
Yes,
I
always
used
the first
to,
thing that comes to your mind.
I used to have this tendency to not even notice perfectionistic tendencies, and then and that makes you like miss the opportunity cost of doing that, and also how you can be consistent in a way that doesn't have to be 7 days. Like even with the daily habits, you don't have to do it 7 days out of 7. You could just do it, declare that 5 days out of 7 is good enough for me, and then you have some leeway to actually keep enjoying that thing that you set out to do.
And then you said chemistry generates energy? What does catalyst mean to you? That's a good word. I like that word. What does catalyst mean? How would you define catalyst?
The addition of a magical element, something that sparks, it makes it reach an activation threshold, I guess, like with the neurons. Another word that's really related to it to me is enzymes. But that
explain
further.
enzymes.
Does it?
Explain enzymes like I'm 5 years old.
Enzymes.
I don't know what enzymes
remember enough about enzymes to this is the only thing that I remember about enzymes is that they can act similarly to catalysts in that the way they help trigger something that otherwise would need so much more work to happen. And then, so they, I guess if I go back to the bowl and the hill example, then they help start that thing down that path or a certain path for the cascade to happen. And I guess the activation threshold thing is a bit more prominent in my mind. It feels like there is a certain limit that it helps it reach, and that when that's reached, when the threshold is reached, then the whole thing can happen, and without the catalyst there's no chance of it, or a much lower, or it would need so much more work. So for example, if I guess if I relate it back to the Luhmann quote of in what contexts do you enjoy what you would normally be excited to work on or do, a catalyst could be like your mood or a context or an inspiration just coming your way that just pushes you or nudges you to a path of exploring that interest with flow and with a feeling of flow and excitement.
Can you tell me a little bit about interpolating like known terms with unknown terms, or interpolating known terms?
What kind of known terms do you mean?
Well, how about this? Can you talk to me a little bit more about sort of climbing up a hill versus down a hill?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to explain that, do you have any like nieces or nephews?
No, I'm going to have a niece in 2 months.
So say this niece, right, that you're going to have in 2 months, right? Say, she's 3, 4, 5 years old, right? 5 years in the future, right? If you had to explain what this climbing up a hill versus coming down a hill, if you had to explain that to a 5-year-old, what would that mean? How would you explain that to her?
I guess I would talk about how much fun it is to go up a hill, because if you're in nature and you're like walking around up a path with trees and beautiful stuff around you and good company or whatever, that it's really just fun. And when you're walking down, you get to either explore a new route going down or just see everything else from a different side as you're walking down. And then you have this whole added perspective of having already been up at the top. That might not be good enough terms for a 3 or 4-year-old, but that's what first came to mind. It's like a journey where you go up and then can have a view that you haven't had before, and then you start walking down and you take that view with you.
When you go down, you take that view with you. What does the word cascade mean to you?
Biology and all these abbreviations that I don't remember, and cascade. It's like a short, not shortcut, but like a way of having so many interdependent things get triggered at once. It's like, for some reason, the word serendipity came to mind.
What does serendipity mean to you?
It's a chance of. I guess I mostly related to the current. Well, okay, right now we live in a world of abundance versus scarcity from like 100 years ago or even 50 years ago in many respects, at least here and relatively. And that requires such a different mindset than what I had growing up and what my parents had growing up. And there is this mismatch between how we think and how we live and the opportunities nowadays. And if we can treat life more from a perspective of abundance and being able to see what we can give, then I guess I believe that those things that we are putting out into the world are paths to serendipitous encounters along those interests and possible shared meanings with others.
How do you feel?
Still a bit nervous, but in general,
you're doing fantastic. You're doing fantastic. Everyone's rooting for you right now. And I just want to ask a couple more questions, okay? You said neural patterns, and I felt like that really like something was popping, right? Without even thinking about, what the literature was about, without even thinking about anyone here, right? Why was that? Why does neural patterns and these grooves and these deeper and deeper through habits, why does that interest you? What about it? What about that interests you?
I guess my main interest in it is it has to do with having, I guess, from a young age, seen myself or seeing people as changeable through ourselves. So like if I want to become more a certain way, I have paths towards getting there, and this whole idea of controlling the journey is not the right phrase for it. I think it's more like having an influence on where I'm going or who I'm becoming. And for that to incorporate more and more of what I learned from the world, and even just advice, and having a way of being able to draw on other people's knowledge and advice. And like if someone says that doing meditation is good for you, I might like put it in a note and forget about it for years. Or I might, how do I develop paths towards new behaviors that might take me further? That's always been a big interest of mine. And only recently I've come to more realizations about this, about how I think that there's this whole other side to this coin of being able to learn more about your current self with a kind of accepting or self-love mindset, and how the two are much better going hand in hand, like becoming a bit more who you want to become, and also getting to know more about who you are right now.
I feel like you weren't. I feel like you weren't thinking about anyone else. I felt like you were talking about what you loved, you know, what you're curious about, what you're interested in. I felt like everyone else just faded away, and it was just like your words, and you were connected to the words, and it was like yes. And I was doing my best just to write everything down. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see. I'm going to move some things around on my desktop so I can see. So let me collapse everything. The timestamp, it seems like it's lagging a little bit. The timestamp, hidden in behind that timestamp, you have two legs. The first leg is going to be the reference note. And if I shift click on that, that opens it up in the sidebar, right? And then underneath that, you have fleeting notes. I'm going to go ahead and expand that. That first expansion is going to be everything that I captured with that first pass. If you were going to do a voice memo, if you were going to highlight this, if you were going to write this out and you wanted to capture your first fleeting note, this is the sort of top level idea. It's thorough, it's deep, it's enough to where if you come back to it, you can understand it, right? And let's just do first pass. And we'll do first pass. I'm just gonna go and copy this real quick, just so you can see it, right? I don't think I did it right. Sorry. Dharm, I know you're waiting, but you're gonna have to wait. This is important. Does that make sense, Agi?
Yeah.
Sort of like a first pass, right? And then if I open any of these blocks here, you have more, right? And if I open all these, you have more. And again, all I did was just write the notes down, right? And if you wanted to think about this, you could think about this as like a second pass, right? And all I did was I sort of just went through and, you know, I was just allowing the structure to sort of form by itself. And each time what I was doing was I was just allowing this to grow. I was allowing for your thoughts to sort of be shown and really describe it to yourself. Like, what does this really mean to you? And all I was asking was, how does it resonate with you? What does this mean to you? And it was just from that, though, you're able to sort of get this, you get this beautiful sort of automatic structure where all I was doing was hitting enter and tab. And again, I'm using the sort of colors to sort of illuminate what this processing aspect of it is. And, you know, for this one here, it's like, you know, we didn't really touch upon it. And if you wanted to be a little more specific, you could, but if it's not interesting to you when you're processing it, you don't have to go back to it. So there's nothing underneath here. But the next one, catalyst, was definitely important. So let's go ahead and expand that out. Right. And it's the same thing with interpolating from known terms. That wasn't really triggering anything, right? And so we went down to the next one. It was climbing versus uphill versus downhill. And again, I was just asking you, like, if you had to explain this to someone that you love and knows you and, you know, that wants to hear you talk, then that's all it is, really. And as we keep going down here, you see how you have like 3 different ideas forming. It's the same idea. And you just sort of let the processing happen inside the fleeting nodes. Let this happen inside of the block, because let me just go and fill this one last one out. Because the beauty of this is that I'm going to let that last one clear out. I know there's a little bit of lag, everyone. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Technology is what it is. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. And the beauty of this is that I can collapse this entire thing. So when I don't need to see it, I don't need to see it. And this is where it's interesting when people go Obsidian this or Obsidian that, and they're forgetting that it's the block. It's the power of the block. And this is what's different. This is what's different with the granularity happen at the block, because when I open this, it hides all this complexity. And so, Agi, what I'd like for you to do now is, in about 1 or 2 sentences, hopefully does this show up on your graph? Does it show up on your end? All I did was I went into Agi.
Yes, it does.
Notes. Okay, can you just do this? Can you just read through all the things that you said that I wrote for you? And if you had to summarize, so basically if I wanted to hide this, right? And at this level here, a summary here so you know what's inside. About a sentence or 2. And I'll write it for you. Or if you want to write it, you can write it.
Does it have to be a summary of that paragraph from chapter 8, or am I thinking of it?
Oh, no, just all this, everything that's in green or yellow. And so basically,
okay, so I don't have to go back to the paragraph for that.
No, not at all. No, that's literature notes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
These are just your fleeting thoughts. This is the first sort of,
Okay. I guess it would be something about how you can get into a flow state, or you can enjoy what you're doing if you have an environment or manage to build an environment. I'm not sure. It's really hard making a summary sentence without the external visualization of the feedback of what I have typed. Okay, so
you're doing great.
Okay, so it would be about you can have an activity generate energy for you and be nourishing. I guess it was just this, that there are certain types of activities that give you energy and other ones that drain it. And the
perfect.
Okay, it could be just this. I guess I put something in there about the catalysts or the direction of the pathway going down the hill.
Okay.
What would it be?
By the way, this is the work. This is the work. If you stumbled upon this 3 months from now and you had this entire block closed, how would you remind yourself of what's inside 3 months from now?
Okay. I'd say something with the potential energy of being up at the top of the hill. I most of the time when I leave like notes or little cues for myself, I don't bother putting it into actual sentences. think Or at the bottom of the hill. I feel like it would just be, this is about how energy, whatever I said before about the two kinds of, the one draining and the one nourishing, but also say, I just say actually just this as related to catalysts, enzymes, and the potential energy of bowl sliding downhill. I'm not sure if that's an actual sentence, but and I actually just put equal signs and say that the enjoyment of the Luhmann quote enjoyment is the sliding down the hill. You're the bull at that point, just enjoying the ride.
Can we all just give her a hand? Like, thank you. How difficult was that?
The last bit was actually pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. That's the word.
But it was fun.
And extremely helpful.
Yeah. And I really just want to emphasize that it's much easier when you're typing it yourself, of course, and you're not in front of 76 different people, of course. But I think the fact remains is that first you process it with a general idea, and then you just go dive into it. And you don't know where it's going to lead you. A lot of, like, the best fleeting notes are the ones where after you're like, I never would have thought about that. But you have to realize that what that's doing is now before we go into the literature note, right? Because the literature note is sort of where now it's not just me, I'm looking at what someone else has written, right? But before I do that, I need to know what it means to me first. And so what it's doing is it's not a linear process. It's not like 1, 2. It's like 1 reference note and then the tripod. It's this tripod. And before I go and highlight and summarize what the author is saying, I need to know what I'm saying first. Because then this is informing me of why this triggered what the author is saying, which gathers not just my ideas, but it gathers others' ideas. And then I'm able to sort of put the permanent note on top of this tripod, which is the most difficult part. You have to realize that a declarative statement is the most difficult part. It's supposed to be, because we're literally saying this is a declarative statement to the world. And if you do the fleeting note right, thoroughly, if you do the literature note thoroughly, you're going to understand that actually the permanent note is the easiest part. And that's what we want to build to. And if you think about it, you go, public speaking is the #1 fear. What is a declarative statement? It's the same thing. You're putting your thoughts to the world to be judged, criticized, loved, liked, hated. You're vulnerable. And I go, if you do this right, if you do this thoroughly, if you hide it all behind that big wall of text, what happens is, oh, this is actually declarative. And if you look up the root word for declarative, it's clarere, which is clarity. So I'm excited for this coming week. We're jumping into literature notes, which is, again, we're being informed from the fleeting notes into the literature notes. Now it's like a lot of people, when I first started coaching them, a lot of people, what they do is they do the literature note first without doing the fleeting note part. And what happens is, yes, you're doing the literature note right, but you're missing the most important part, you, in that whole part, in that whole process. And so now that you're doing the fleeting note, which is the you, now you can take apart what the author is saying and put this all together into a flat surface. So we're going to get into that. And before all of that, though, I'd like to invite Dharam. Dharam, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'd like Dharam just to sort of give us another overview of Rome Portal, because the thing about, by the way, can we, another hand for Augie, by the way, just great job. Seriously. Yeah. We were winging it. You know what I mean? It was all sort of on the fly, but thank you. So the reason I love what Dharam is doing is the fact that he's not trying to like swing. He's not a snake oil salesman. He's not like, hey, pay me $50 to use this tool. You know, I love that. I love that. Is that ethics? Is that what do you call that? Values? I don't know what that is, but it's like, I admire people that are like, hey, look what I've created. Let me show the world, and what Dharam has created is the future. Whether you can see it or not, we're going to get into it, but it's the future. So Dharam, I'm just going to let you take the stage, and, we did a little flyby yesterday, but I'd love for you just to get a little bit more in depth of why I'm telling people to sit down when you present, because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's thanks a lot, Bo. Let me share my screen. And all right. Yeah. So I have this how to take smart notes. I have this graph opened right now, and Rome Portal, as I said, it's a way to search through your Rome graph, and then it's a way to visualize your search results in different ways. So it's a tool. My thinking behind it is to be able to give you more insights from the way you're writing and from the way this graph is being used. So as an example, if I say, just show me everything that happened in the last 14 days, right? It's going to just look at everything, all the activity, all the blocks that were modified over the last 14 days, and it'll give me back everything. So that's 33,000 results, right? That's the amount of activity that's happened over the last 14 days in terms of blocks. Now, I can say that maybe don't show me all the blocks, but show me all the images over the last 14 days. So now it's showing me all the images. These are all the images that we've uploaded over the last 14-day period. I can also click on an image to see exactly where it lies in my graph. But the simple concept is you just build a query and then try to get different visualizations out of it. For example, how about tweets, right? So I still have the same filter saying that I need everything from the last 14 days, but instead of giving me all the images, return me all the tweets that have been added to this graph. So now I'm seeing that there were 31 tweets that were added to this graph, and this is basically a Twitter timeline for this graph. You can see, I can see the date and the time when this particular tweet was added. And they're all listed here in that order. I could even say that include the previous tweet and thread. So for example, sometimes a lot of tweets, they're replies to previous tweets, right? But we don't include these in our Rome graph, but we only include these ones. So just to give some more context, I also show the previous tweet, which this was a reply to. As I go here, I can see that this is just the tweet that we have in our graph, but I'm also showing the previous one just to give more context, which is, I think, what Rome is all about. I can also go to frequent usernames, and it'll sort of give me like a word cloud of the usernames which are used the most. There's not a lot here, but hopefully as we keep adding more tweets, this word cloud also fills up. And then if I find something interesting, like maybe like if I pick Samantha, right? If I click on her, I can see the tweet of hers that was added to this graph. So again, it's like very quickly I was able to surface 14 days ago something by Samantha, and I can immediately see the tweet right here along with the image, right? So it's all coming back very quickly. Let me go back to all blocks again, remove this and go back to 14 days again. And another thing I can do is that I want to see all the blocks which have reactions from people. So show me all the blocks which have which have received likes or dislikes or some kind of like reactions. So again, I add a filter to my search query, says only show blocks with reactions. And now I'm just seeing 80 results over the last 14 days. These are the blocks which have received some kind of reactions from people. So instead of sorting by date, let me sort by reactions. And I can say that this was the most popular sort of like in terms of reactions. This block got the most number of reactions from people. That's 11. And you have a full a list of all the blocks and sorted by the total reaction counts that they have. It's all here. I could even filter. Maybe if I find something interesting, I want to see like who's the person who put 2 hearts. So if I click on that reaction, I can just immediately see the block which had that particular reaction, and then I can go there. So this is something that as Bo also, sorry.
How about let's take a look at my word count. I want to know, okay, this is what I want to know. I want to know, I've created a lot of blocks, right? I put myself through all the exercises. What's my most used words?
Yeah. So if I want to go to your most used fully, so let me turn off reactions. So I turn that off. So in order to get all the blocks back again.
And this is just a Chrome extension, right? There's no JavaScript. There's no other thing. It's as simple as going into the Google Chrome store, and I think I put a link on the Daily Notes page as well.
Yeah. And now if I go to, now I'm still on the same results, right? 14 days ago. Let me go to pages. And here I can see, this is just another view of the same results. I can see that over the last 14 days, these are the pages which have had the most amount of activity. So Agi is actually number 1. I think also Bo added a lot of blocks just right now, but she's number 1 over the last 14 days. And then Bo is number 2 with 738. So very much leading by example. And then we have all the other people. So let me, for example, click on Bo. So when I click on him, I add his page as a search filter. So now I'm only seeing results from within this page, right? So now actually, if I go to pages, I'm only going to see 1 because the results are only from this 1 page. And now if I go to words, I'm seeing the words that he uses the most when he writes. So this is a list of the words that are most used by Bo in his in his notes.
I curse like a sailor.
Yeah. So if something interests me, right, I could even click on that word, and when I click it, it gets added to my search filter. And because it's added to my search filter, I can see that along with this word, what are the other words that he uses the most. I could also go to results and see all of his usages of.
Well, I kind of like that. It said really fucking problem solved. I think that's, that sums me up,
Fully. Let me actually click on solved to see what were the problems you solved. And that's the 2 results I have here. So this is where you used, yeah.
And then how about I really want to show people how much we're connected with everybody. What if we did a search for a Zettelkasten as a conversation with, and see a sort of, you know what I'm going for.
Yeah. So that was this page, right? Settle.
A Zettelkasten is a conversation with.
This
yeah.
one?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Let me paste this here, and let me take you up.
Yeah.
And do a search. So when I add a page over here, right? What it does is it searches for everything within that page, and it also searches for all the block paths, so all the children and the parents where this page is mentioned. So it's sort of like searching through all the indentations of this page. And now if I go to the graph view.
Yes, graph view, please.
And let me filter this out. So I can say that this prompt was used by, these are the people who, how it was used. And when I click on a particular prompt, I can also sort of link it to which day it was mentioned. And
Can we just show all the people one more time? I just want to see how many people were connected. Yeah, please. But yeah.
Yeah, I can also go to time, and I can see how this has been used over a period of time. So we can actually see, and of course this includes indented blocks as well, but we get a view of how this particular prompt, how people have been sort of updating this prompt on a daily basis.
They've been getting on it the day of. They've been getting to it at the day of. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can click on one particular day, and if I click it, it actually updates my search filters. So now it'll put like Sunday because I clicked on Sunday.
It'll
and
show all the people that were lagging. Yeah. So these are all the people that did the last minute, right?
Yeah, I can now I can click on pages and I can see those people as well.
Oh,
so that's,
I'm writing that down. Someone screenshot this.
Yeah. So,
I'm watching you.
And what are the references which are most used together with this page and within today? So these are the references that are used today. For example, this actually interests me, Slate Star Codex. So I can click on it, and it got added to my query. It got added to my search query, and now I can see within this prompt, within today, the mention of this particular page, and that was done over here by Justin. So that's where this happened within this prompt. So I sort of built a query with a linked page with a time filter, with a mentioned page, and I got through this prompt, and I can also see that within this one prompt, the word depressive is used 2 times, for example, because these are just views of my results, right? And because I have one result, I can still see for that one result what are the references in that one result, or if there was any blocks that were referenced as well.
Can we go back to the 3D graph with a Zettelkasten is like a conversation with?
Yeah. What's this? And then, yeah, I should also go to the globe again.
Yeah.
But let me go to the graph, and we also have a 3D graph, right? And this graph actually, it's again, it can be overwhelming, but you can start off by option clicking on different pages, and then you can see how connections are made within single references. There's also this option called fly to page. And when I click here, I can see that within my search query, what are the topmost linked pages? So relating what we don't know with what we do, this actually comes most together with a Zettelkasten is like a conversation with the same number of times. So again, and I can go over there. So I can sort of navigate across, navigate visually through this graph as well.
I love just seeing everyone's names on there as well, just to show you that, when we're doing these exercises, it's like all those names we're all nodes at that edges to that same node. And it's like, we're all attacking that same problem. We're all asking those same questions. And
so let me,
please.
If I give a more interesting graph view of the same thing that you mentioned, right? So I've just now said, give me everything from the last 14 days. Now let me go to the graph view. Okay. Yeah, the 3D graph, when there's too much data, it can take a while to load. So let me go back to the 2D graph.
Our graph has broken much of Rome.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot happening, right? Like this doesn't make any sense in the 2D graph. But what you can do is let me start off by let me go to Bo's page, for example. And once I'm on his page, I can option click. So now I'm just seeing within this whole graph, I'm just seeing things that are linked to Bo. That's it. Everything else is sort of faded out, right? And now I can actually sort of navigate from here. Maybe I find Bo is linked to Martha. Let me option click on Martha. And now I can see that the things that she is linked to. Let me go back to like Africa. So not much here. Let me go back here again, and let me find something else. Chat room. I click on it and I see what are the things that chat room links to. It links to Connor. If I click on Connor is linked to Chris, and so you're actually just moving around and finding links. Just visually, you can actually sort of travel through this graph and just find interesting things that are happening, interesting activity. Just click on someone and you see everything that's connected to that person. And then from there, click on other areas to see how that's connecting to different parts. And sort of, if you find something interesting, you can also move it to the side and then come back to it later. And you can also not always navigate over here to quickly go to an area that you want. This is sort of sorted already by links. So the most popular pages are on top. And I can just search and quickly go to different areas of my graph and then start from there and start traversing my graph directly from there.
So Dharam, we have about 7 more minutes here. I had one more question. Colby was talking about this. I have one more question. If virtual reality goggles, if we put on a pair of virtual reality goggles and you have enough time where you're funded enough to where you could spend full time, because this is a part-time thing for you, right? This isn't even your full-time gig. You're doing this on your days off, right? And it's phenomenal. But what happens, let's say a couple of months from now, right? And you get funding and someone's able to throw on a pair of goggles, like VR goggles. What do you think is possible?
So this 3D graph is, it's already, it sort of works in virtual reality mode already. There's a lot more that can be built on this, right? Once you are in a VR world, you can actually navigate through this graph. You can walk around. You can actually draw connections just using your hands. If you find something, sort of some page that associates you with some object or something, it's even possible to build a memory palace in a VR world within the pages and block references of your graphs. So it's very cool, and I think there's a lot of possibilities there as well.
So me and Dharam are sort of, we've been talking a lot now. Yeah, I mean we've been talking a lot, and I am just so impressed with your character. Just how you do this. And listen, I mean, yeah, if it's valuable, of course, people need to earn money. And I agree, you know what I mean? But I just love your heart and I love where you're coming from. And I'm excited to continue to work with you as well, because I think about when everyone is done with these 42 days and they have this functioning Zettelkasten, it's like in this graph view with a pair of goggles on, you could literally traverse your ideas and your connections, and you can click on one relevant node, it'll have all this come up with all your fleeting nodes, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And yeah, I'm also, hopefully I get more time, but yeah, I hope I can do more stuff on this as well. I mean, just as an example, right now I took 14 days and I said only show me blocks with reactions, and I went to the graph view. So this is actually a graph view of emojis and of reactions. So you can see chat room is right in the center of this 3D graph, right? Because chat room has had the most number of emojis and reactions from people. So that's why it's in the center of this graph right now, because I'm filtering by reactions over the last 14 days. So you can also sort of like be creative when you build these filters. The last thing I'd like to go.
Is there like some documentation or some videos that kind of go over all the stuff that you're talking about this can do, so we can refer to
that? There are some docs. I could paste in a link. It's not fully complete though, and it's not as in depth. So that's something I need to work on. But I could paste in a link in the chat. Similarly, I could end off by showing the globe view as well. Once again, actually, it's just maybe I should increase the filter to 20 days ago.
I love
But
how
again,
it's
right?
fuzzy search too. I love how it's like you can just type in 2 weeks ago, 20 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just easier for me. And once again, these are all the pages that these are all the locations that are mentioned in this graph, right? If I click on any one of them, I can see, for example, that this Kansas City that's mentioned, and again, I'm sort of pulling all the pages and trying to match them with locations and showing them all over this graph wherever they're mentioned. So they're all over here. You can also, if I go to show countries, as I said, it'll also show up the countries that are mentioned in the graph. So there's like, if I actually sort of just type USA, it's like 54 mentions of USA, right? 12 mentions of Germany. So it's all here as well, this whole list. And I could even search for any location here. And it'll show up instantly, and I can sort of travel to that location in the graph view as well, if some location interests me. So it's sort of like because you can't, it's not just like limiting you to put cities in the globe, but you can just put anything. You can put any sort of like the White House or anything can be added to this globe as well. It's not just limited to cities or states. You can have like a line which shows maybe your house as well. So it's quite extensible in that you can add more location cities as well to this place.
I definitely recommend, follow Dharam on Twitter. Download, it's a Chrome extension. If you use Chrome, just go to the Chrome extension store. It's free. You just download it, and then it just populates on that little button on your browser. Dharam, I'm super excited to see what happens when you're actually able to do this full time. And I think this presentation, I think you've definitely wowed some more people like you always do.
No, thanks. And once again, I mean, just if I go to references, I want to compare the way we are using different blocks or different pages, right? I just put to do and done. And I can see, for example, how to-dos have been mentioned over time. So that's like today, every single day, and how done is being mentioned. So you can actually see sort of a progress going in line with to do and done. Or I could put something else. I don't know what are the pages, or even sort of like prompts, right? The way prompts are being used. So this is sort of, you can compare different.
So yeah, we don't know what happened. Let me see.
Yeah, we're not sure what happened here, but
yeah, sorry about that. Not Bo's fault. I'm not sure if it was just a timer, but I'll just
Did you get it recorded, Bo?
yeah, I have it recorded. I'm recording this second part as well. I just put it up on the Daily Notes page. Join Zoom link again. Let's debrief. I mean, we hit the 2-hour mark anyways, but still, I didn't want to end it back.
Yeah.
Did you put a time limit when you created an event? Because sometimes if there is lots of people on Zoom, they actually force that as the end.
It's a room admin thing. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just inviting everyone in.
Got kicked out of Smart Notes. Look, yeah, we all got kicked out.
Yeah, sorry about that, Colby. I'll just
So yeah, I mean, Dharam, I'm not sure if you're still in the room, but
yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, there you are.
But
I'm excited to see what's next, and I think we're on the verge of something here, and I can just, if I close my eyes and I think about how VR is going to be added to all that, and being able to sort of fly through your graph with your hands, it's mind numbing.
definitely.
I say, you know, I don't think there's much to debrief. We did the writing exercise. We had, Dharam come in. We had the intervention. We did the, I think I think it's best to just end it like that, because I don't think everyone's going to come back.
Okay, I've just sent out the invite just in case for those that are a bit confused.
Okay.
I can just hang here for a few minutes if you'd like, Bo.
Yeah. I need to work on day 16's daily lesson, but I'm proud of everyone. I love you guys. I'm excited to see. Maybe a tweet can help. Some people won't know where to look. Yeah, I'll post it right now. I don't know what to write. Well, that's it, folks. Not sure what happened. Feel free to jump in and chat with others.
Just been playing with that 3D view. It's so awesome.
Cool.
Thank you for that, Dharam.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, if you find anything that I could improve on, please let me know.
Thank you.
Hey, Dharam, can you hear
Hey.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I checked the portal on my private graph, and I thought that one way to upgrade it could be by actually taking namespaces for the cities. Because, for example, in my graph, I have names like Seneca. Apparently, it's also a town somewhere.
Okay.
So, and I never treat it as a town or a city in my text. It's actually a name.
Oh yeah. So I mean, so you're saying that if you put 20 days ago and it shows a city on the globe view, which is not really a city because it's just like a name that you use as a page, right? So the way to deal with it is that you can make use of the other query options, right? So for example, if you're using an attribute where you put in your locations, right? Put that attribute location, put that in the linked page area. Then the search will filter down and you're only going to see cities which have the location attribute.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's great.
Or if you have the cities added in a particular list of pages, right? You could search by page or you could search by block mentions. So I would recommend putting the right filters. I mean, don't make it an open-ended query, like just give me everything from 1 month, but try to scope the query. And then you'll find the right, then the wrong ones won't show up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
So I'll hang out a little bit. Does anyone have any questions just through, or any impressions, or Augie, maybe you want to say anything? How did that feel? Just being in front of everybody and, being put on blast, or just, is everyone having fun? I don't know. Just open it up. If you want to say anything, just unmute yourself and then just jump in.
Well, to me, if I just say a few words, I think the process was really, really fun, and it really helped me understand the difference between the fleeting and the literature notes. I was confused about them, and I thought I'd have to like go back to the paragraph and like summarize what that meant instead of what my associations and whatever it generated meant to me. And it's nice to have that both separated out and then synthesized, I guess, later for the permanent note.
Yeah. And Martha?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, Agi. I think that was amazing. Like just the thoughts that you had and everything that you were saying. I was like, oh wow, cool. She's really into chemistry. But anyway, as I was going through the fleeting notes and the exercise, I think for me the hardest part was the summarization at the top. Because I don't know whether I felt like maybe I was overcomplicating it, because you know when you have so many thoughts, and I was thinking to myself like, okay, how am I going to summarize everything into just one thing? Is it that I pick maybe the things that resonated with me the most, or do I look at every single block and try to incorporate every thought that I had into the summary? I think for me that was, so I don't know if you have any tips or any points on the summarization part.
I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer. It's really for you. For you, when you stumble upon this note again, months later, years later, and you look at it and you just have this sentence or two that summarizes what's hidden underneath that big wall of text. It's just thinking about how you can help yourself in the future. And there's no right or wrong. That's the beauty of it. Because the Zettelkasten is so personalized, it's Martha, it's what you want to write. You know, like if you want to just write one word, you can do that too. There's nothing to prevent you from that. It's just thinking about when you do stumble upon this and, you know, say you're in a flow state as you're traversing through your palace of notes, you know, in VR with Dharam's Rome portal, you know, with the goggles on, and then you have this wall of text, but you're not sure if you want to spend your time and your focus on opening this big wall of text. You know, what's that sentence or two that can just summarize what is in there, that if you do open it, it's like, oh, wow, look at all this other stuff that I can get even deeper into. Okay. What is your future self going to look for? Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Bo, sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to put this link out on Twitter just for the Zoom room back in?
I mean, I don't think I'm going to stay on much longer. I just wanted to say hi. And I think we're fine. I put a note on the
in the graph,
on the daily notes page of the graph. Can we just make sure that doesn't happen again though?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's annoying.
Yes, I think Bart, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious if I want to start putting these in my own graph, obviously I mean the notes we're writing, the fleeting notes. How would you organize it? Just make a fleeting notes page? And
we're gonna get into that on week 4. I think the best way to think about that is continue to track where what's happening as you're having these notes. Like are these websites? Are these videos? Are these physical books? And then what tools do you have around you? And the reason that I keep saying that is because that's gonna be how you're going to figure out the best way to organize this for you. Like, for instance, like I have a page that's just, I don't want more than 12 fleeting notes at a time.
Hey!
Hi.
Ah!
Someone's in a good mood. What is he on? I want to know what you're on, Josh.
Sorry, guys. I didn't know I was on mute.
So Bart, so yeah, I mean, how your workflow is going to be so particular. I can't, you know, I just, how would I say this? If you want to start,
I think that's enough said in a way.
Well, it's just understand that how you're going to figure it out is how you're going to figure it out. I know it sounds so vague, but I can't tell you that this is how you need to do it, because if I tell you how to do it, then you're not going to do it. But if you tell yourself this is how I'm going to do it, then it's more likely that it's going to happen. And that I feel like is the best way of approaching this, and to see over time, okay, maybe it's not a good idea to have a workflow that's meant for physical books if you're not using physical books. You know, maybe if it's a URL that you think about, maybe Readwise highlights, or maybe Roam Highlighter, or, you know, it's thinking about it in regards to that. And by the end of these 6 weeks, you will have a workflow, and you will know where it's going to live, and you will know how it's going to look, if that makes sense.
It does. Thanks.
Colby, I will be. I'm recording this one as well. I'll just smash it together.
As it keeps coming up, it's like a conversation, and because it's a conversation, we need time to understand what we need, so we can find how the person that how the partner we're having a conversation with is like, and what is the best what's the best person that we can have a conversation with to make the most out of it.
Yes.
So that's why it's kind of like it makes sense that each one of us might have something different. Like I watched so many times your 100 tweets video that I kind of like I broke apart your system, but then it was kind of like, it's good, but it doesn't work exactly for what I do because it's slightly different.
I think that's the thing. That's why I'm like, I mean, Peter, you're right there. And guess what? Your dialogue partner might need to be a little bit more Iron Man. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more diverse. Maybe it needs a little bit more evidence. Maybe, do you know what I mean? Like I'm all about storytelling, you know, and seeing the themes and connecting the themes of Jungian psychology with this and that. But you might need to have like this intense, complex research paper, that document, you know, that manuscript that you need to create. But that just means that your dialogue partner is different, which is what we want. We want a dialogue partner that's gonna be formidable. You want it as formidable as you, because guess what? There's no one that can out-argue you. And if you have a dialogue partner that's as strong as you, guess what? Now you're playing the game. And all I'm doing is just giving you a gentle nudge. The snowball, yeah, exactly. Like Agi was talking about, the snowball's going down the hill. Like the hardest part is getting people to write in Roam. That's the hardest part. I still have people right now that are like DMing me like, oh, well, I already know all this. Right? And I'm like, do the work. Do the work. You know? Because once you get the habit of writing in Roam, then applying this simple lightweight structure is the easiest part.
So, Bo, I had this epiphany while you were talking. I was thinking it's maybe like having all these boomerangs that are sitting in front of you, and then when you encounter an idea or somebody's work, it's like you throw one with a thought. Oh, I have this thought, I have this thought, I have this thought, I have this thought. And then as it comes back, they kind of hover, and then you choose them. You're like, okay, I'm going to process this one and throw it again. I'm going to process this one and throw it again. And then some you're like, oh, I don't care about that one. I'll just drop it. And then like, it's like when they all come back, you're just like, okay, now how do I summarize everything that I threw out, processed, and then came back, and threw out, processed, and came back. But anyway, it just kind of made me think about a boomerang, basically.
And it's also like understanding that we're so inundated with distractions too. And it's like to have these boomerangs in one place in a simple structure that when you do want to process this idea, you're ready to catch it. And you know how to catch it, you know?
Yeah, like what you said, it's like throwing them out and then letting them hover and wait to process them. And then later you're like, oh, okay, well, there's enough there that it came from you already. So it's just like processing them and like I'm thinking as I'm talking, it's like internalizing them as I grab them and then rethrow them.
Yes. Yes. And it's all you though.
Right.
You know, it's yeah. And then you have that time as it's sort of floating in the air to go, what does that really mean? What does that really mean? Why is this interesting to me? You know?
Actually, I was thinking about, the exercise while we were talking about, all our distractions. I wonder if I started thinking them as boomerangs, I'd be less likely to go, oh, I should just pee one more time, or I just need to go warm up my tea quick a minute so I can really work. But like, what if I was thinking that I have to be there when they're coming back so I don't lose, so they don't just start dropping and I lose the momentum, I guess, that I'm able to grab them and process them again right away. There's a little bit more of an urgency to finishing the game, I guess, if that's what you will, or self-boomeranging, than it is to just let them go.
I think there's a sense of, for me, it's a sense of joy every time I do start though. And even if I, literally after I process a fleeting note, maybe I'll go on Twitter and I'll check Twitter, and then I'll jump back into literature notes, and then I'll process and summarize the literature notes, and then I'll check Facebook, and then I'll come back, and then finally I'm ready to sort of place it in the Zettelkasten. And then once that happens, it could take anywhere between 25 to 35 minutes. But it's not that, because I know where everything lives, and because I know that I'm processing it, and because I know that I'm having fun doing it, there's not this sense of it's a sense of urgency, but it's not in a sense of urgency of I'm gonna feel bad if I don't do it. It's a sense of urgency okay, I need to walk the dog. You don't have to walk the dog, but you're gonna walk the dog. But sometimes, it's gonna take time. Maybe, you wanna grab a bite before you walk the dog, but the dog is gonna get walked. And it's sort of like that, where it's not a sense of urgency of pressure, it's a sense of urgency of joy. It's a sense of urgency of oh, okay. I hope that makes sense. I just kind of made that up on the fly, but I'm just trying to think of
well, I was just thinking it'd be fun to do. I was just trying to, it's like playing little mind games to get yourself to complete something and not get distracted, I guess, but to understand to do the processing well.
I don't think you have to play the mind games. I think it's almost like what Lumen talks about. It's if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do want to do it, it's right there. So it's like you throw that boomerang out and you captured it, and especially with you, Samantha, because I know you do a lot of voice memos. The best part about voice memos is that once you do a voice memo, you remember the intonation, you remember the meaning and the feeling you had there, right? And then you can let that sit for months. And when you do come back to it, when you're ready, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to process this now.
So what do you say for someone who likes to process in the moment? Because I've got new ideas. I don't generally go back to old ones unless I'm looking for something specific. I'll be like, oh, I remember I had some thoughts on X, and then I'll go back and look at them and I might reprocess them again, but simply because I'm interested in that or wanting to see where I've grown since that thought first came. But I don't usually go back and go, oh, I'm just going to do this for kicks.
It's also this idea of sitting with it too. It's like learning a new skill. When you first are sort of bombarded with all these ideas, it's overwhelming, but if you sit for it for 3 days or 4 days or a week, then it's you have a little bit more I have a little bit more alacrity, a little bit more clarity in regards to what I'm actually thinking about. So when the boomerang does come back around, you're like, I'm ready for it, but I'm in a different mind state. And so, yeah, you can process things immediately from captured, processed, boom, in your permanent notes. But sometimes there is the benefit of sort of letting it ruminate and digest a little bit, and get a little bit more thicker thoughts out of it.
Sweet, thanks.
I want to use Delta more, but with questions and writing prompts. The thing with Delta, though, is Delta is meant to sort of do spaced repetition. And when I think about spaced repetition, it's basically you want to be able to surprise yourself with something that you want to remember. And I think about what's the best way to do that? Well, every time you create a new permanent note, you're literally going into it's going to take a while before this happens because you need to build a critical mass where you don't know every permanent note. But once that happens, you're going to start, as you do the fleeting note, as you do the literature note, and you place it and do the permanent note, and then you add the relevant notes, as you're connecting these permanent notes to other permanent notes, what you're doing is you're literally going back to every note that you've ever written. and you're scrolling through and you're going, oh, I remember that from October. Oh, I remember that from September. Oh my God, I completely forgot about this one. But this relates to this note that I'm making in July. You know, and so it's that surprise of seeing your notes that you forgot about. And then it's like, what happens is it's so interesting because not only are you building knowledge on things that you want to remember, you're building knowledge on the things that you wrote and the things that you processed, and then the things that have a source material right there as well. So it's when I think about Delta, it's almost like a forced way of making that happen in order to memorize things that aren't connected to other things, you know? But if you are memorizing it inherently in the structure of how Zettelkasten is made and how the step-by-step phases happen, then it's an instantiation of spaced repetition without even doing it, if that makes sense. It's like spaced repetition in its most natural form, because you're not like, it's organic. It's happening because every time you create a new permanent note, you have to connect it to all the other notes that it relates to that you've written over time. Like a message to your future self, exactly. You know, Xiaomi's video, that was one of the best parts about Xiaomi's video. I think he got it wrong in regards to when he does it, but the best part is that, how do I want to stumble upon this later? If I stumble upon this later, you know, that's what I want to do. And we're sort of, it's like sometimes when I read people's like bullet journal questions that they, like their daily questions, I get a little thrown awry because sometimes the questions are preemptively making them get into a state of mind that's not effective. And if you ask yourself these questions of how can I stumble upon this later, what it does is it sort of preemptively states that we're going to stumble upon it later. It preconditions us to go, I want to stumble upon this later. And so it's sort of, if it was a snowball, it's like you're rolling a snowball down a hill that you haven't even thought about, like that's 2 months away. But I love how, like, by asking ourselves that question when we're connecting our permanent notes, it's like, how can I stumble upon this later? What else does this remind me of? I would love to, like, sometimes when I'm connecting these notes, I don't even connect it to, like, permanent notes that make any sense. I use, like, antonyms. If it's, like, productivity, I'm going to do, like, laziness, or, you know what I mean? I like that, because that way when I look at my Zettelkasten and I'm actually looking to, like, connect things and do like an output or something, then I can just sort of go in and I go productivity, and then instead of having everything all about productivity like this and that, it's like, oh, laziness, where does that lead me? And then it's like a completely different rabbit hole. And I feel like that, if you don't have, I mean, I don't know what's more, like if you don't have joy in seeing, that's the insight that Sonki talks about, by the way. The insight is having threads of conversations that are connected that you would not have thought about connecting. And then that jump between these two threads is the aha moment. I use Delta for journaling, but yeah. So anyways, there's a lot that we're going to go over. Yeah, exactly. The antonyms, because we want to stumble upon this at a later time, but maybe sometimes I want to stumble upon it when I'm not looking for the synonym. So we're going to, literature notes going to be super important because now we're going to be digesting. So right now, Fleeting Notes is all about digesting what I'm thinking about, what resonated with me. Now literature notes is digesting what this person is saying, whether it's a lecture, whether it's a journal, whether it's a thesis, whether it's someone's decade worth of work. Now we're digesting this. And it's like, this is fun. Because now you're like, oh, I can digest anything. It's not about like, no, literally, you can digest anything. If you spend enough time writing about it in Rome, you can digest anything. Like, I hate Nietzsche. I hate reading him. He's too dense. But I made myself do the exercise and I just picked a random one, And after like 25 minutes of wrestling with this guy, it was like, and it's like, listen, I don't know anything about philosophy. I don't know anything about this or that, but it was just like, what does this relate to? What resonates with me? What does this remind me of? What does this remind me of? What does this remind me of? After I got to like the fifth remind me of, I was like, I know what he's saying. This is what it means. Literature note. Boom. Let's go. So that's, literature notes are going to be fun. I do need to make today's lesson. If you haven't gotten up to day 14, wait, let me ask, by the way, what does everyone think about day 14? Yeah, I got a thumbs up from Bart.
That was
So I have a
Mala.
question.
Yeah.
I have a question, Bo. Why did you just put the timestamp and not have us put the date and then the timestamp underneath? Because then it doesn't post to the day. So like if I wanted to go to the 14th and see what people were putting that day, it wouldn't put their fleeting notes on it.
Because
we just put our timestamp on it.
Because it's I want to make sure you practice perfect practice. And it's like, when I think about a fleeting note, it's something that it's not, the significance of that is not important. The significance is going to be where it lives in the permanent note structure. And so the current time is just sort of the action to get your ball rolling, but fleeting notes can be from any time, from anywhere. It's the permanent note. It's when I process these things and make them into a permanent note that counts. And those are always going to be in your daily notes page. It's always going to be linked to a specific date. But in this shared graph,
in your graph on your on your fleeting notes, you don't put the date on them, you just throw them in there, or are you doing your fleeting notes like just for your own work? Are you doing it just for teaching purposes, or what do you do in your own habit?
in my own habit, let me go and share my screen.
Because I noticed you have a purpose for everything. So I was just like, okay, what's the purpose in this?
Basically, it's about like more than anything, it's about simplicity. Make it as dumb as I can, right? So if anything, this is what I do. So basically, I have let's go YouTube here, right? So basically, I have all my structure laid out in here, right? The reference note, my fleeting note, and the capture, right? And so basically, what I do is I'll go in, I'll do current time. I'm ready to work. I already have, like, none of these have dates and times, right? It's just random videos that I was sort of breaking down, right? And so when I'm ready to work and ready to create a new permanent note, I just do current time. That's saying that, hey, I'm ready to start work. All I do is just drag it over. Close this, and I'm done. I'm ready to work. I'll open this, I'll break this down, I'll make the literature note, whatever that looks like. And then when I close it, it's just that. But it's sort of like, it doesn't, like, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And so because
what you're doing is
the daily notes are automatically going to be there.
Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is more like a, I don't know if I want to call it like Readwise, where you're like, or like a Instapaper or something, where you're kind of capturing the initial part of it and then processing it later. It's almost sort of like an inbox for you. You're just not assigning it to anything.
Exactly.
Is that how I'm understanding? Okay.
Yeah. And Bart, see, even with this page, it's like, oh, where'd it go? I have a assistant that usually does it, but I don't like having more than 12 notes at a time because I'll get overwhelmed. And when I get overwhelmed, I don't do it. So I make sure that each one of the books or whatever that looks like, I don't want more than 12. Start below and make sure I've always got 12 in the barrel. So when I'm ready to work, I'm ready to work, but I don't want more than 12 at a time. Like, look at this. This is too many. This is overwhelming. Where do I start? I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell's going on here? You know what I mean?
What do you mean by relevant? What is it relevant to? To the top, to that page?
How do you mean?
Like, what does the tag relevant notes mean?
We'll get to that. That's week 5.
Because that's kind of,
that's the juice, man. That's the juiciest part about all this. None of this even matters until you get to the relevant notes. Because that's where the Zettelkasten is talking to you in your voice. Because everything's written in your own words. I mean, I'm telling you, this is gonna it blows my mind, and it's gonna blow your mind if it hasn't already. Like fleeting, getting everyone to the fleeting notes part is the hardest part. Getting everyone just to write about what's going on for them, write about them, is the hardest part. Everyone's so used to like, I need to have this book report. I need to summarize this so I can get an A in the class. It's like, no, just write. Write about what it means to you. Write what's bubbling up to your brain. Anyways, I'm getting tired. I need to eat something, and I have to get today's lesson done as well. I love all of you. I'm so proud of you. If you're catching up, take your time. Everything's there for you, right? Everything's there for you. Take your time. All the videos are there. The shared graph isn't going to go anywhere. And enjoy this moment. Because, oh, you know what I forgot to say? It's like this, okay? It's like riding a bicycle. The hardest part is learning how to balance. But once you know how to ride a bicycle, if I got on a, like, I haven't rode a bicycle in probably 10 years, but if I got on a bicycle, I know how to ride a bicycle, right? And it's the same thing. Once you understand Zettelkasten, this lightweight, simple idea, you can do it for the rest of your life. The hardest part is learning how to balance. The hardest part is putting that helmet on, making sure you don't topple over. That's what these 6 weeks are. Once you get through this, you're done. You don't need me. You don't need me. You don't need anyone else anymore. You got it. You understand it. You have your artifact after these 42 days. You got it. That is beautiful. Anyways, I gotta go. I really do.
We definitely need more people like you.
Like, listen, if my enthusiasm can get you pumped up to get you through to the 42 days, that's a win. You know, that's a win. Anyways, I gotta go. I love you all. I'll post this all, and I will see you tomorrow in the video. I'll have it up hopefully by midnight tonight, but we'll see. Bye. I'll have this uploaded on YouTube. Okay. I'll post it on the Daily Notes page. Okay. Bye. Bye.